Hi, I'm Nick Whyte from Tech Fishing. I'm also one of Lowrance Australia's pro team members. I quite often get asked what units I'm running on my boat and how I utilise them, so today I thought I'd do a vlog and give you a bit of a run through on what's on my boat. First of all, we'll start off at the helm. On the right hand side I have a HDS Carbon 16 and next to it I have a HDS Carbon 12. With the 16, I mainly run this as my sonar unit, so this will run my structure scan, my 2D sonar and my down scan. This I'll change to a full sonar screen when I'm travelling from spot to spot. The HDS 12, I'll use this as a dedicated charting unit, so I'll run sometimes dual charts, CMAP Genesis, CMAP and Navionics, and also with my satellite imagery overlay as well. So depending on what I'm doing at the time, obviously when I'm travelling I go back to a full chart screen. Yeah, makes it a lot easier to see. Moving up onto the deck, so on the front deck we have two more HDS Carbon 12s. These units obviously used when you're up fishing on the front deck and using the electric motor. So with the one on the right, all these units are all networked together via NMEA and Ethernet, so they can share sonar from the back of the boat and the electric motor to any unit. I have one mapping card for my Navionics, one mapping card for my CMAP, and one map for my CMAP Genesis, which they will all share through each unit via Ethernet. So on the unit on the right, I run my chart. So obviously when I'm putting waypoints in at the helm, when I find fish, I can jump up the front, put the electric down. I've got the waypoints already on my chart up the front. Also run my side imaging from my 3D structure scan from the transom. Obviously very useful to be able to see out to the side of the boat, even when you're drifting, picking up those schools of fish. As you can see, I also run my autopilot on the front. When I'm using the electric motor, I prefer to use the foot pedal most of the time. It's really good, or really handy when you're at spot lock, to be able to use the jog feature still. So this is why I use the autopilot screen up the front, just so when I'm around structure I can use the jog to jog 5 or 10 foot to the right or to the left or back or forwards, whatever the structure I'm targeting. The unit on the left, so this screen on the left, the full height sonar, that runs from the transducer that's built into the XI5. On the right hand side I have the HDI transducer reading from the transom, and also my down scan from the 3D transducer on the transom. So the reason I like to run both sonar from front and back of boat, obviously when you're fishing ledges and things like that, it helps you position the boat at the right depths. Also lets you know if there's fish or snags or rock bars starting when you're drifting. If it's coming up at the back of the boat or the front of the boat, you know where everything is. So that's a bit of a brief overview on the units I'm running. So as you've already heard me speak about, I'm running the structure scan 3D. So it gives you double the clarity and double the range with your side imaging. Lot cleaner image than your LSS2 or your total scan transducer. Also on the boat I'm running a sonic hub as well, so I can pretty much control all my music through any head unit on the boat. With the sonic hub I've added in some JL audio speakers down here. So these speakers, they're 7.7 inch speakers, which I replaced my old 6.5 inch Lowrance speakers with, so lot better sound. Yeah, good for when you got the tunes belting out. Also it's got a pretty full-on NEMA network in this boat as well, so as you can see I've got a couple of digital gauges running from the E-Tech. Also got the engine interface cable, which as you can see on the chart here, I've got all information for trim for the motor, fuel used for the day, fuel remaining, battery voltage, that side of things. So as you can imagine, when you're running 4 units on your boat, battery becomes something pretty major. Under the seat I do have a dedicated crank battery and a dedicated house battery just to run the sounders. So yeah, there's plenty of power. The E-Tech usually charges them up pretty well when I'm on the run as well. I've just jumped onto my NEMA network device list, so I'll just run through it quickly and show you what I've got running on the network. I've got a fluid level sensor for the fuel tank, fuel data manager, which has the memory so it can store the information for your fuel usage and your refills and things like that, especially when the backbone's been powered down. One of the carbon 12s, one of the other carbon 12s, and the other carbon 12, and the carbon 16. The LMF 400 gauges, which are the two gauges, the digital gauges down here. The motor guide, a 0.1, and a sonic hub. So the 0.1 is a little puck I've got mounted over the back here. So that gives us a heading sensor, and it's an external GPS antenna. Another thing you don't see on a bass boat too often is an underwater video camera. So as you see here, I've just got myself a little cheap underwater camera off eBay. I've linked it into the back of the HGS12 Carbon with the AV in cable. It plugs into the power. It's just a little insert in the power cable. So once we've got it hooked up, come back out to the main page, go to the video screen, and what you'll see here is my camera. So what I can do with it, bombs away, we're only in pretty shallow water here, enough to hit the bottom, and down on the bottom there, well, it's pretty weedy, but yeah, you can see these big Christmas trees down on the bottom. We're only up in a shallow sort of area to try and get out of a bit of the wind, but yeah, this is a really handy tool when you find new ground, working out the bottom densities and stuff like that. All that information you can pick up on your sounder, but it's good to drop your camera down and yeah, be able to see what sort of weed it is and what sort of mussels are on the bottom. So yeah, awesome bit of kit, and yeah, something I use a fair bit on the water. I'm about to head back to the ramp now. Before I do, one of the biggest things with your sounder, it doesn't matter how good your screen is, how good your settings are, if your transducer placement is not set up correctly, you won't get a reading at speed. I'm just gonna, as I head back, I'll take a bit of footage and show you how my sounder looks when I'm travelling at high speeds. So here we go, from idle. As you saw there, we've got a reading well over 35 knots. Transducer placement is the key when looking for those fish and new spots on the run. Now at the transom of the boat, we'll take a look at how the transducers are mounted. Here's how I've got my transducer set up. As you can see here, we've got an 83200 HDI transducer, a TM150 and a Structure Scan 3D. With the HDI transducer, this is the one we're using to get our reading at speed. As you can see, we've got it mounted pretty low in the water, so we're always going to get nice clean water over the face of the transducer. The only downfall with having it mounted so low is sometimes you can get a rooster tail out the back of the boat, which can throw up over the motor. This can be rectified with running aluminium cover plates. I'm pretty lucky here where it's mounted underneath a pod, so I don't really get too much rooster tail out the back. On the side view, what you'll notice is the transducers kick down a little bit at the back. This also helps with your reading at speed to get that nice clean water on the face of the transducer. Moving on to the Structure Scan 3D, another thing you'll notice with this is it's mounted quite deep as well. So with this you don't have to mount it as a skimmer as such, but by mounting it as a skimmer and keeping it nice and low in the water, you'll get a lot better readings at higher speeds. So optimal reading speed 4 to 10 k's, but mounted like this you'll still get an image where you can pick up large targets at 15 15, maybe getting close to 20 k's an hour. Well, that's a brief overview on how I've got my boat set up. If you'd like to know anything more about the products I'm running in my boat, or any Lowrance products for that matter, feel free to jump on my Facebook page, Tech Fishing. Send us a message, I'll be happy to help you out there. Hopefully I'll catch you out in the water, guys. Cheers.